What's up, everybody, and welcome to Enjoying the Review. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by the phenomenal AJ Singh. AJ, how's it going?
And this is a great episode. The last two episodes have been all the series have been great. I just enjoyed it, and I'm excited about it, man. I'm hoping we'll talk about it, but I'm hoping there's a future in this for season two.
Yeah, so everybody, we are reviewing the finale episode, episode 8 of The Penguin, entitled A Great or Little Thing.
Yeah.
Um, AJ, I gotta say, overall, I think maybe a few small nitpicks, but overall, I thought this episode was fantastic. I thought they landed the plane. And I really like this series as a whole.
There were just a couple of issues that I really didn't like in this episode, but at still I really liked the episode. So yeah.
I will say, AJ, once again, you are a bit of a prognosticator. You predicted something early on in one of our reviews, and it came to pass in this episode.
Okay.
So just like with WandaVision, man, you're locked in or something. Um, um, yeah, I don't know. Before we get into spoilers, I don't know how much non-spoilery stuff I want to get into. What I will say, even though they haven't announced it yet, I do have a feeling we will be seeing a season 2 of The Penguin. This show was a big hit for HBO. I see avenues where they could go. So yeah, I would actually now be surprised if this doesn't get a second season. But if it doesn't, it's still wrapped up in a great way.
Exactly. I don't mind the way it ended at all. It's very good conclusion in its own. Yeah.
I guess before we get into spoilers, let's do our final scoring now that we've seen the last episode. Of what we would score this season on a scale of 1 to 10. I think, AJ, now that I know that they landed the plane successfully, I'm gonna go pretty high. I'm gonna go an 8.5 out of 10. I thought this was really, really solid for me.
I mean, this is gonna sound crazy to you probably, or whoever possibly hears this, but I gotta go higher, but I still have more nitpicks probably than you with this episode. I gotta go 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Really well written show in a lot of ways. Subterfuge all the way till the end. Everything's just up in the air. You don't know how everything's quite gonna land. Yeah, it was really good all the way through. Just there's some issues consistency wise that I had an issue with. That's all. Just here and there, not even much.
Yeah, I think overall, still, like, we talked about it in the episode where Sal Maroni just escaped prison, like, and we didn't see it. That to me is still like the biggest, like, kind of plot hole in this whole thing.
Right.
There is something, one of my nitpicks, and we'll get to it when we get into spoilers.
Yes. I'm sure we're both thinking the same thing.
Well, I don't know, but there's something that happens in this episode that I'm like, I get why they did it stylistically, but if you really think about it, it's like it doesn't really make sense.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we'll get to it. Okay, AJ, anything you want to touch on before we get into spoilers?
Yeah. There were some things I want to touch on from the episode last week.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because you kind of had to leave before we finished.
Yeah, I think mostly my focus was on that death of Maroni, and I think we talked about it. How he was like, "I beat you," but he didn't really get to beat him because Maroni died on his own, beating him or whatever it was.
Right.
I don't know. He had this whole like thing, but just like, you know, you do get a pretty good insight into who Oswald is. Like, this guy's dying in front of him. He's already lost his son and wife, and Oswald, like, he's done that to him, and he's taking everything away from this guy's dying in front of him. And like, all Oswald can think, he compartmentalizes and forgets everything he ever did to anybody, and all he can think is, "I beat you." Like, in that moment, all he's fixated on is like, he feels like he didn't really win. And so that's all he's thinking. Like, I gotta tell this guy I beat you. And the last thing he hears is Oswald saying that to him as he dies after everything he's lost. And it's like, it's two things, right? It's like, this guy's going through so much pain and stuff, but Oswald at the same time is so fixated on what he wants that he doesn't even know, that he doesn't even care. That's not even registering in his mind. And maybe it does. Maybe it makes him happy. Who knows? And I imagine he does, because when we watched him burn, he was smiling. So, and I think we get more perspective on why Oswald feels this way. And I don't know if he's telling the truth because he lies when he says anything he does, but he does throughout the series give this perspective that he's the little guy trying to move up in a world full of greedy sharks at the top. And he doesn't like those people at all. Is the impression he said. That's what he says, right?
Yeah.
So part of you can think like, yeah, he's a sinister person who does sinister things at that moment in that episode. And another part of you could have thought that he's the little guy who's trying to like, move up. Like that's what he's been doing this whole series. Like where you told that story at the very beginning about that guy who helped the community. Maybe that's what it is. This whole Machiavellian arc of him getting to the top and helping people. Maybe that's what it was. But then this next episode tells you more, I feel like.
One thing I'll say is one of my main predictions of this show, of how it was going to end, was that Penguin would rise to the top, but he would lose dearly getting there.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is like, and we'll get to it, that's somewhat true. But then as I think about it, I'm like, I almost think the Penguin is so he won, but he's so selfish and self-absorbed that I don't even know if the things that he lost even bothers him that much.
I don't think so. I think he actually feels better about the situation. Because
I kind of do too, yeah.
Yeah. Because essentially, yeah, he went back to square one with a lot more power. So yeah, that's what he wanted.
Yeah. I mean, they really paint a picture of this guy. Okay, let's just get into it. I'm excited to talk about it. So we start off this episode with Julian he's doing that therapy your sister's learning, actually, with the red light thing that goes back and forth. And he gets...
Look, that Julian thing, I've got so many questions about that at the end.
That's actually one of my criticisms, is they set this guy up and they never really did anything that interesting with him.
And then he's all of a sudden like really important in this episode. But then something happens at the end that makes me think, what even just happened then?
I mean, to be honest, his storyline kind of goes nowhere. I mean, if they do a season 2, I have no doubt they'll do something more with him. But I thought they were going to give him more to do this season, to be honest, than what he ends up doing. But yeah, he's doing the therapy on Frances, and he gets her to remember when Rex Calabrese paid her a visit after the death of her sons. And we find out Frances tells Rex that she figured out that Oswald was lying and let his brothers drown in the tunnel. So, we thought all this time that it was this big secret. No, she found out straight away. She says that the cops told her that the boys were locked inside the tunnels. She tells him that she's got the devil in her house, which I thought was an interesting line. Rex tells Frances that she has 2 choices. She can use Oswald's loyalty and devotion to her to basically push him to be successful. Or, and after that, she says she cannot overlook what Oswald did. And so Rex insinuates that maybe she should have Oswald killed. And she asks Rex if that's something he could help her with. I mean, that's pretty dark. I mean, not only does she figure that out, but she's like, man, this kid's so evil that even though he's my son, I might just have him knocked off.
I mean, it kind of reminds me that, there was a movie when I watched when I was a kid, and there was Macaulay Culkin and another kid, and one kid was evil and one kid was good. And
I've never seen that movie. I think it's called The Good Son.
Oh yeah,
I've never seen it, but I know of it.
Yeah. And I think the good kid isn't even her son. I don't know why he's there, but the bad kid is her son. At the end, she has to choose between them. I won't tell you who she chooses, but
Well, I probably won't watch it, but we won't spoil for anybody out there who happens to want to watch a really old movie. Yeah. Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
So we now see Oswald and Frances's night at the dance club from another perspective. So Oswald sees that Rex is at the club, and Frances tells him that Rex will drive him home later. Mm-hmm. Meaning that, he's going to take him out. Frances, so Frances's mind begins to slip as she's retelling this story. So visually, like we see Julian and Sophia like come into her vision, like Julian kind of gets her back on track. Oh, keep telling us the story, and they fade away, and it keeps rolling the story.
Mm-hmm.
So Oswald gives his mom a speech about how he appreciates her and will give her what she deserves. If I had one criticism, it's that they have that conversation about a billion times throughout this season. Like basically him promising her the stars.
Yeah.
Oswald finishes his speech by asking her not to give up on him. And so this apparently makes her change her mind about giving him over to Rex, apparently, because he's alive. So now we get kicked back to the present day. Victor arrives on the scene of the explosion with the other gang members, but when they see the destruction, they turn back. Victor calls them all cowards and tries to get them to help out Oswald, but they refuse and leave. And the underboss of Mr. Zhao, the Triads, is a guy named Link, who we met in an earlier episode, but they kind of give him like more time this episode. And so
this guy is very trusting. He came off as almost naive to me.
Yeah, you definitely get the sense that like he's ready for a change, and for some reason, like I think that speech Oswald gave with the beer and everything must have resonated with him.
I get it, like, and then Vic has a speech later, and this guy's, maybe it resonated with him or whatever, but that's not a smart move that he did. Like, I don't think anybody would. The way it happened, I feel like a person would need a lot more assurances before they do something like that. And I just don't. I think he was very flying by the seat of his pants in that situation. I don't know. It just seemed odd to me that he did what he did.
Yeah, I will say that, like, I feel like a lot of the gang mafia stuff that happens in the show is very shorthand because, like, they know we've seen this stuff in like other mob stuff,
Yeah.
and so it's just like I don't know. Some of it does feel like maybe cliche and just kind of like not as in depth as maybe you had seen in other things.
Like, okay, so I feel like people's motivations are usually selfish. And I get to some extent he had selfish motivations. I know to a large extent he had selfish motivations. He even, took down his own, people to get there. But at the same time, you're putting a lot of power in someone else's hands over you also. Like, what you're doing is you're creating a power vacuum and you're hoping that they let you fill it. I don't think that's a smart move at all. And then they also try to write it as in the little guy versus the big guy. And I get that. But also we live in a world where the little guy does not fight against the big guy. We live in that world. And every time the little guy gets a chance, they're usually corrupted by the big guy or something, right? It's very hard to get all these people in the city who are all gang members and everything be like, yeah, we're tired of the big guy picking on us. Like, that's unrealistic in my eyes. It just seems odd to me that those people were easily motivated to stand up against people who are far more powerful than them, that could crush them. Like, just, I don't know, it seems odd to me.
Not to get into current day politics, but that is something politicians do to try to make their voters feel that you're just like me, you're one of the downtrodden and we need to rise up even though I'm this rich powerful person, you know what I mean?
That's true. You can make kids go to war over that stuff. But I mean, these are supposed to be like seasoned gang members who aren't easy to manipulate. But yeah, I guess nobody's immune to words, I suppose. Yeah.
And like you said, greed and personal motivations,
yeah, that I believe,
yeah. So yeah, Victor calls them cowards and tries to get them to help out. That Link guy kind of like punches him in the stomach and he's like, you don't do this now. Like you get the sense that he likes Victor, but he's basically being like, you need to tone down this before they kill you,
Mm-hmm.
So Victor, he goes to the site of the explosion and he runs into Zeke at the site and asks him if Oswald got out. And I think Zeke must not have. They kind of fade away here, but I think Zeke must not have known because, like Victor Victor isn't sure Oswald's alive until he gets a phone call from him later on in the episode.
Mm.
Okay, so we we cut to Julian waking Oswald up. He's tied to a chair at that Monroe's Jazz Club.
This is okay.
Okay,
This is a great
okay.
scene for the most part. Great scene for the most part.
I think now I know what you're getting at. Yeah,
Yeah.
at the end of this scene, another huge nitpick. That's okay. Okay, yes. I forgot about that. This is, to be fair, this is actually a bigger nitpick than the one I have later on in the episode. Sophia tells Oswald the story about a bird that killed its bigger brother bird and pushed it out of the nest. And she says when the mama bird got back, it acted as though nothing happened and kept feeding and caring for the baby bird. You know, obvious metaphor for what happened. Okay. So, Sophia takes the gag out of Oswald's mouth, and he tells his mom that he is going to get her out of there. Sophia tells Oswald that she and his mom and everybody knows that he killed his brothers. She then tells Oswald about how his mom hired Rex to kill him. Sophia tries to get Frances to tell how she really feels about Oswald, and Frances spits in her face.
Okay, so this is where Sophia takes a different approach from what I thought she would do, and what my twisted mind would do in that situation, or thought, not would do, but would expect somebody to do in that situation. When that lady spits in her face, I imagine I thought she would be like, you spit in the face of the memory of your children. The person who killed your children right now, you're defending them. I would break her that way. Like, her 2 children died by the hands of her other child. You could completely break this person. But like, she didn't twist that knife, and it seems so odd to me. Like, I don't know, a mother losing 2 children, you could f her up. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. But like, yeah, it just seemed odd to me she didn't go that route. But yeah, she went a different route.
But yeah, you're right. But at the same time, like, she really does want to torture Oswald, and so physically threatening his mom is going to do that for sure.
All right, so physically, we'll get into this. Like, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, Sophia has Julian threaten to cut off Frances's pinky finger, like he cut off her brother's pinky finger, if Oswald does not tell her the truth about how he killed his brothers. Oswald keeps lying about it, even though, like, she's being threatened. And eventually Frances yells at him that she's always known. Oswald tells her that she's confused because of her disease, and she tells him that she hates him for what he did. And so at that point, Julian stops threatening to cut her finger off. Frances walks over to Oswald and tells him that he's a disappointment and a waste of space. She says that she wakes up every day sick that she's his mother. She says that Sophia is right and that she should have let Rex kill him when she had the chance. And then she smashes a beer bottle and stabs it into Oswald's abdomen.
Okay. Once again, I feel like I would have done things differently here. It seemed odd to me that she didn't clip off a finger for every time Oswald lied. I thought that would have been a much smarter move. Every time he lies, clip off a finger. Eventually, he'll either stop lying or his mother's really going to realize that he really doesn't care about her at all. Like, I get that she finally got there after the whole thing, but I don't know. I think you could teach Oswald and his mother a lesson at the same time with that. Like, clip off a finger for every time he lies.
Well, I can't remember now if it was last episode or the episode before. I think it was last episode when Sophia was first having a conversation with Frances after she kidnapped her, and Frances started having like an episode. We saw that Sophia actually did like feel sorry for her in that moment. Like, Sophia, even though she is crazy, like, she still does have empathy.
I don't understand Sophia's empathy at all. She shot a kid in the head when Oswald lied. You can't cut off his mother's fingers? Like, you killed a kid. You can't cut off his mother's fingers every time he lies? It doesn't make sense to me.
I just feel like she's more interested in harming Oswald than Frances.
But you could harm them both with that move. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I think maybe Sophia, like, she's unpredictable, but like I think on some level, like she's not as evil as Oswald. I don't think. I think she still does have some empathy.
How do we
Um,
feel about that? Do we want Oswald to go up against a person who has this thing holding them back, or do we want him to go up against someone who's just as cutthroat and willing to do anything it takes? Like, I kind of want him to run into a version of himself.
that might be interesting for like a second season, but I don't know. I kind of like Sophia being more conflicted. I like her character. So
I liked it.
and
Yeah. I
and
just don't think she can
also
win.
oh yeah, I think you're
Not
right.
with empathy. You can't win with
Not
empathy.
yeah, but also like last episode too, like we had the scene where she goes and she talks to her cousin's daughter or whatever,
Mhm.
and then when she comes out of that room, like she breaks down in tears. So like
Mhm.
again, like she does have
I
some
know. Women
empathy.
are her
Yeah,
soft spot. Her
yeah,
mom, women. I get it. It's
that's
written
true.
into there. Yeah.
Um,
It just seemed
she,
weird that she shot a kid. I don't know. Okay.
so yeah, she stabs Oswald. She tells him that he's the devil. But then she has an episode. She sees Oswald as he was as a child, and she also sees her other two kids, like drenched in the rain, like ghost versions of them, basically. Um, you know, I will say, like, I'm okay with that, but I do think like visions of dead people is something that's used far too often in movies and television.
Well, I mean, in this case, it was like followed by a stroke too, so it felt like somewhat she was had some sort of like mental breakdown at that point.
That's true. Like her brain's going.
Mm.
So yeah, suddenly the kids fade away from her vision and she collapses to the floor. Okay, so this is another kind of Maroney level, getting out of prison level. Like I
Yeah,
couldn't
super
quite.
strength Kingpin over here. He turned into Kingpin basically.
Yeah, this was hard to believe. This was hard to believe. So
I
Oswald
mean,
breaks it.
they set up this whole series with him being such a feeble person. They made us know that. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. But yeah, so Oswald, he breaks the chair that he's in. He kills a guy. Like he grabs a gun, kills a guy, and is somehow able to fight his way out of this club, carrying his mom on his shoulder
His
with his
aim is impeccable.
yeah, and he's got the bum leg. I had a hard time suspending my disbelief here that he could have got out of this situation.
They must have cut out a lot of scenes of him benching, like benching a ton of weight and just practicing his sharpshooting. Because I didn't see that shit, and there was no like
Right.
indication that he did any of that or had those skills. Very strange writing.
Yeah, and
Like,
also it's like, why didn't Sophia have more men in the
yeah, that's true too. But okay, look, I don't understand. Like, the whole point of this character was that he uses his brain. He'll do like it was his thing. His handicap was his body. He can't use his body. He has to use his brain. That was
yeah.
so. That changed him. That was so weird.
My prediction going into this episode was that like they were going to get to this point. Oswald would be in dire straits, and that's when Victor and the cavalry with the gang members would show up.
Mhm.
And he'd
Yeah,
somehow get out that way.
some sort of clever strategy.
Right, right. With this, I just had a hard time believing that he
Mhm.
could have got out of that situation. It seemed too convenient. So yeah, if I
Just
had to have
out
a
of nowhere. Yeah.
yeah, so I do kind of have to mark down this episode a little bit for that scene.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, he somehow fights his way out of there. The crooked cop from the previous episodes is outside doing the drops in his eyes, and Oswald just like shoots that guy in the head. So he's done. And Oswald gets in a car and speeds away as Sophia takes a shot at him. This is another thing where if Sophia was just a little bit faster, she could have totally killed him before he got that far. Like when he first started like exiting the club, if she would just like grabbed a gun and ran out after him, she could have caught up and killed him. So I don't know. It's just
Yeah, it was odd. Also the way she tied him up seemed odd to me too. She just what was that tape?
yeah, I think it was tape. I
I
think
don't think
so.
a person in that position would use tape. I know they do it in movies and shows because they're fake as hell, but I thought they were going to try to portray this as like a realistic situation. That was not realistic at all.
I mean, if you really like duct tape somebody like really harsh, like lots of
Lots.
like it would like get him pretty good. But like I guess the whole thing is like he breaks the chair so it just can like slip off. I guess I don't know. It overall though very hard to believe.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
Just
hard to
I
believe.
don't know. I mean, even if the chair broke, that's also bad planning. I don't know. It's just if you really want to hurt this person, you hate them so much. They did such bad things to you. You don't want to give them an inch, not a chance. Like you want to control every variable in that room. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I would have had him much more secured, more guys in the room just in case, it would have been foolproof,
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So Oswald takes his mother to the hospital, and while he's in there, he sees a newscast about the explosion. Victor is in his car. He gets a call from Oswald, so he knows that he's alive. Oswald finds like a room in the hospital, and he staples his cut the to his stomach shut. And while he's doing that, Victor shows up, and I found this interesting. Oswald tells him that it was Sophia who stabbed him rather than his mother.
Oh, because he doesn't want Victor to know what he did.
I think that yeah, that's my guess. Is that yeah? If he told, I guess he could just lie and say, "Oh, she had a weird episode, lashed out at me or something." But like,
Mhm.
yeah, I think yeah, you're right. He doesn't want Victor to ask questions and find out what he did.
Mhm. Oh, and when he watches the news, or is it? No, it's later maybe. Oh, well, there's a moment where he talks to his mom about what he did. So I think it's later.
Um, so Victor tells him that he got there too late and the gangs wouldn't help. Oswald tells him that's the way it is because he's got nothing to offer them anymore. Victor says that isn't true. He says it's more about more than just drugs and money. He said he gave people dignity by actually helping them and giving them jobs. So Victor gives him this whole rah rah speech and basically gets him back on board.
Yeah, we hear I think twice. I don't know if Cobb said this at one point too, but I do know that oh no, Maroney I think said this or somebody or the father of who was the other guy, Falcone?
Oh yeah,
One of them said this I think, and then also it's repeated by Rex in this episode that you want a kid who looks up to you as a father, who needs a father. And that's definitely I think what Vic gets from this relationship. I think that's what Oswald was fostering. I'm not sure, but I mean, we find out later what the situation is, but I think he was still fostering that mentality to use him.
yeah. Actually, I didn't really think about it. Like, I guess this could be a theme of the whole season, but this episode really put it on Front Street. That this episode really is about mommy and daddy issues.
Hmm.
Oswald has severe mommy issues.
Hmm.
Sophia has severe daddy issues.
Yep.
And that's really what kind of makes them psychopaths that they are.
Yeah.
Um, so Oswald tells Victor that his mom will never look at him again unless he gets this all done.
Yeah. And I think Victor assumes that's just because like he wants to give her the world. And his mom's so pressing on him. She's aggressive that he gets things done. So probably Vic is just assuming that's what it is.
Right. So Sophia gets invites all the gang leaders to join her at her home. She tells them that she's leaving Gotham, and she will give her empire to whoever brings her Oz first.
This is where I thought that was very naive of him to just believe that. Yeah. Maybe it's true, but still naive to believe it.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's true because like Sophia, like
You kill her competition, then what? She's gonna be like, oh, all of a sudden you get everything. I don't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see like she really hates Oswald, and like it does seem like she'll do anything to take him off the
Maybe,
map.
but
But
also people change their minds.
at the same time, they do ask her why she would walk away from all of this, and she says because she can. So like she does, she does kind of have the money and the luxury, unlike a lot of them, to where like she can just walk away if she wants to. So maybe they would believe that. Again, maybe a little naive to believe that, but it
Mm.
may be something that would add to that.
Mm.
So Oswald goes to meet with someone, and Victor gets a call from Link. Link tells him that Sophia just put a bounty on Oswald's head and that they got to do something fast. So he asks Victor where Oswald is. So they kind of play it like, maybe Link is looking to kill or get Oswald to collect the bounty on Sophia. Like I kind of figured that Link was still on Victor's side, but like they do play it off to where like we don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
So Oswald, we find out that Oswald is meeting with the same councilman that he had dirt on before that he talked to.
Mm-hmm.
He tells him, basically that he's got a story for this guy to tell, to get everybody on his side. So he tells him that Sophia was the one that blew up the tunnels. He tells him about the drug lab in the tunnels. He tells him that it was a war between the Falcones and the Maronis, and Sal Maroni killed Sophia's brother, and so she retaliated.
Mm-hmm.
He tells him that Sophia is the one who had Sal's family burnt. He tells him that the cops will find evidence of Sophia's vehicle and a bunch of dead Falcone and Maronis, including Sal Maroni himself, in the tunnels. He tells the councilman he has the opportunity to give people someone to hate and someone to love. So he's basically given him this whole narrative that
Mm-hmm.
Sophia was behind the whole thing, and that he can get the people to love and trust him.
Which is great for Oswald because now he's got a guy who's trusted.
Exactly. Yeah. He tells this guy that he can be the guy that locked up the last Falcone and ended a drug war. In exchange, Oswald would like to meet some of this politician guy's friends. So he really wants to get in good with the higher ups in Gotham City, so he can become even more powerful.
Yeah.
The councilman says that the new mayor is putting together an anti-corruption squad to go after cops and city officials, and this was something that the high-pitched cop told Sophia in the earlier episode as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of thinking if they do a season 2, that the mayor character would probably play like a bigger role, and like it would be a more of maybe like a cops and robbers type of narrative. The cops trying to take down the corrupt people and the mob. I don't know, but it seems like that
could be interesting. I'm just tired of seeing cops. Like, I'd rather see like something else. I don't know. Just so much cop stuff, like shoved down our throats over and over again. I'm tired of it, man. There's so many cop shows, cop movies, cops. I don't know. I'm tired of it. I'd rather be.
I kind of wonder how like the narrative of this show, how much of it will play into the Batman movie. Like, will maybe the next Batman movie will be about getting rid of corruption, and so then the Penguin season won't focus as much on it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe these Batman movies really blow cops really hard though. Like they really love the cops. It's weird because Batman's a vigilante who's supposed to be like doing the job of the cops. The cops are supposed to hate him because they're doing his job. Like he's making them look bad.
Well, I mean, in the Batman movies though, they do have corrupt cops. So they like, of course, he works with Gordon, so he finds like the best representative of the cops. But yeah, that's always been a part of Batman staying is he'll work with some cops and take down others. So
Yeah. But the cops, they should show more corrupt cops, I guess. I think in one movie they had corrupt cops. I don't know which one it was, though.
The Dark Knight, they definitely did.
Oh, okay.
So he tells Oswald that they're going to subpoena him and that he's got to look clean. On his way out of the building, he sees the new mayor who we met in the Batman movie. And that also made me think that, like, maybe a tease for a second season, like she would be more of a character.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I definitely saw her as somebody they want to bring back, a reoccurring character.
Yeah. When he exits the building, Victor is missing, and Link and the Triad show up and threaten him to get in their vehicle. So now Sophia gets a call from Mr. Zhao, who says that he has Oswald. Sophia tells him that she will meet him at an airplane hangar. And so Sophia
also, once again, does not prepare for this meeting. She stands far too close. She has nobody between her and the people she's meeting, it feels like. Or maybe they're all standing next to her, I think. Just the strategy of going into this just seemed odd to me, because especially considering that she was aware that meetings could go like this before, when she pulled up her car in that one situation and pulled back. It just seemed like all of a sudden she lost agency.
I mean, I guess you could call her naive and thinking that...
Well, I mean, thing is, she had that meeting before. Granted, it was more with Cobb, I think. But still, Cobb's involved. He uses a lot of subterfuge. He convinces people of things. Like, I mean, he convinced you that his mother was... He convinced you he didn't kill your brother. Like, he convinced you were on the same team. It's so strange that she trusted him in this. Or, not to him, but, like, that there's nothing going on behind the scenes.
Well, I would say this. I would say, to be fair, she was putting her trust in Mr. Zhao, and Mr. Zhao was on board. Mr. Zhao didn't know that he was going to be betrayed.
True, yeah. I'm just a very skeptical person, especially in that situation where everybody's gunning for everybody. I wouldn't trust anything.
Yeah, just like when she was in the club earlier, she probably could have afforded to bring a few more of her guys along.
Yeah.
So we get the scene where Sophia burns up her house and her father's watch. She, burns up the painting of her father. Just, like I said, really outlining that she has daddy issues.
Mm-hmm.
So Sophia shows up to the airport with her men, where Mr. Zhao has Oswald. But then, like I said, Link ends up betraying Mr. Zhao and kills him. And then the rest of the triads gun down Sophia's men.
That was kind of cool when he shot Mr. Zhao. I kind of like that.
Yeah. So Oswald takes Sophia for a drive, like the good old days. She asks him what he gave to Link to turn, and he says something that she would have never given him: a shot and a chance to be somebody. So now, and I thought this was interesting too, we get a montage of all the gang leaders being killed by their underbosses. So, Oswald had this whole thing where, he's basically getting, which it's interesting because he's basically like telling all these underbosses, it's a time for a changing of the guard. Like,
I thought it was great. I thought it was really well written. Because he gives the same speech to the bosses and inspires them against bigger bosses. But thing is, he's giving the same speech to their underbosses at the same time. So they're thinking the same thing as the bosses. They're like, I want that spot, and the bosses are thinking, I want that spot. So like, yeah, he's basically dooming them, but they think they're having an inspiring conversation where they can rise.
Right. Yeah, it was very well done. I like that that turn. Okay, so Oswald drives her out by a river under a bridge. She tells him that his mother always knew that he was a monster. Oswald tells her that she will never find peace and that she is going to hell, and she tells him that she will save him a seat. So he puts the gun. Okay, so this is my other nitpick of this episode. He puts the gun to the back of her head, and so it kind of does a close in on her, and we kind of actually see her exhale, like almost like she's relieved, like that it's over.
It's over, yeah.
But then all of a sudden, she gets hit with a helicopter spotlight. She turns around. Oswald's gone, and the cops are coming for her. My thing is, realistically, especially with the way Oswald walks, how would she not have heard him walk away?
Also,
and
sorry, good.
And also get in his car, get out.
How fast was he going? He was trucking it apparently, and silent as hell at the same time. Oswald has become a ninja in this last episode, I'd say. Like a ninja, a Jason Bourne type, maybe something like that.
Yes. So I definitely had a problem with that. Like I said, I get like stylistically, it was cool. Like you think she's gonna die, all of a sudden the spotlight's on her, and she turns around. And it's like, but I'm like, then you think about it for 2 seconds, and you're like, there's no way he would have got out of there without her hearing. Like it just.
Also, the cops show up right then. You're telling me they didn't see Oswald walking away? They put a spotlight out there, like. They all showed up right after Oswald seemed to have disappeared. You're telling me they didn't maybe see him while he was leaving? Like, they should have. The timing is great.
I think we're led to believe that he fed that councilman the information that they could pick her up here. But yeah, it's like, were all the cops that showed up on like the corrupt payroll? You know what I mean? It's like. Maybe that's
I imagine they thought they were in a real bus. Like they must have thought this is a real thing.
That's what I would have thought too. And so just I found it hard to believe Oswald would have got out of there.
Yeah.
I noted that she's arrested by the high-pitched cop. That guy, I don't know why, just his voice, it's so off-putting. It's so weird.
Yeah.
Oswald goes to see his mom and celebrate his victory, and he sees the councilman on the TV telling the exact same story that he laid out about Sophia. Oswald's mom won't respond to him, and he finds out that she had a stroke. The nurse tells him that she's basically a vegetable now. So Oswald begs his mom to tell him that she's proud of him. He breaks down at her bedside in tears, and Victor comforts him. So outside, Oswald tells Victor that he did everything for his mother, and Victor says that she knows, or says that she knew that he did everything for her. Oswald tells Victor that he couldn't have done it without him. Victor thanks him for taking him in and says that he's like family to him. This next scene.
He once again gains super strength.
My problem. Okay, let me lay out what happens. So Oswald tells Victor that he can't bring him where he's going next, and says that the thing about family is it makes you strong, but it also makes you weak. And he starts choking Victor. Victor pleads, but Oswald chokes him to death. My thing here is, if you ask why Oswald did this, a part of me is like, well, is it because Victor saw him in this moment of weakness and he doesn't want that? Or is it because Victor has seen too much, he thinks of him as a liability? I almost think Oswald... My thing is, like, I wouldn't think Oswald would kill him until he absolutely has no use for him anymore. And I would think he would still see Victor as a useful tool going forward. And I don't even know if Victor knows, much more bad things about Oswald than, like, anybody else in the crime organization knows or would assume. So I don't know. I just thought he would... Like, why kill... Like, he's selfish, but, like, why kill Victor when he could still have use of him, I guess was my question.
Oswald is so strange. Like I definitely think he killed him because he knows too much. Because he just got to the top, and he doesn't want to lose everything he had, so he wants to kill every loose end there is. He tried so hard to get there. He doesn't want to lose it. Um, at the same time, he also says while killing Victor that he can't have family. Like you said, it makes you weak. So that makes me think that he may have thought about how Victor can be used against him. Maybe, trusting him too much. Victor tells the cops everything. Maybe Victor works with somebody else or something. I don't know. But yeah, he just didn't want to get betrayed by somebody that he cares about or trusts. And I don't think he trusts anybody. He doesn't want to. So,
or maybe he's like, like he does like Victor, and so he doesn't want the liability of someone being able to threaten Victor, and
yeah,
like
I can see
that
that
sort
too.
of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a part of me like I kind of wonder like
Oh, I'm sorry.
I kind of wonder like if they knew, again, I don't know if they'll do a season 2, but a part of me wonders like if they knew for sure if they had a season 2, do you think they would have still made the decision to kill Victor off here?
I think so.
You
I think
do.
so. Now you've established exactly, okay, this is Oswald. He's an irredeemable. He's in it for himself. I think they had to build up the bad guy first in this series, in this season,
You
and
might be right.
establish,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So Victor had to. He was a season 1 arc. Um, and now we know what Oswald is, and now we're gonna see how far it goes. I think he's gonna have like a fight with somebody who it could be the cops. They're on to him now. But I don't think it is because he already threw Sophia under the bus for everything he did. He killed the loose end. I think he's clean. I think his fight's going to be with somebody who sees him as competition. Like, well, I could work with the Maronis. I could work with the Falcones. I could work with, Gigante or whatever. But I don't know you. I don't trust you. I've seen what you did to them. So we have a problem. You took away the people I work with. You took away my finances. You took away the people I trade with or whatever, like something like that.
I do think that Link guy could become suspicious when he finds out that Victor just mysteriously disappeared,
Potentially, yeah.
But you are right about one thing, is that like, for most of the season, it's like we knew Oswald was a bad guy, but he had every once in a while he would do something where we go like, oh, maybe he's somewhat good. And so this episode just cements like, no, he is irredeemably evil and
Mm-hmm.
awful and like
Mm-hmm.
just the worst. Speaking of which, after he kills Victor, he takes his money and throws his ID in the river. Like,
Mm-hmm.
might as well use this guy up, take his
That
cash.
makes sense, though. I mean, might as well. I
um,
mean, don't leave anything behind at that point. You kill him. Don't kill him for nothing. At least take the money.
Okay, so this was what I was referencing early when I said you were a good prognosticator. In a very early episode, like we were wondering, like what's going to happen to Sophia, and you were like, "Well, the worst thing that could happen to her would her ending up in Arkham again,"
Mm-hmm.
and that's exactly what happens to her.
Yeah.
Sophia ends up back in Arkham, and she's visited by Julian. He gives her a letter from Selena Kyle, and in the letter, Selena says that she's Sophia's half sister. Sophia reads the letter and smiles. This was something after they mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess in the Batman movie we did find out that Selena was Carmine Falcone's daughter,
Mm-hmm.
but like I didn't really think it was like significant that they would technically be related. But this here is another thing that makes me think like even if they didn't know if they were getting a season 2, like they were like, let's seed some things in case we get a season 2, because this
Yeah.
definitely, you know.
I am curious. I don't know. It seems weird, but is Selena Kyle going to be in season 2? Is there a way she's weaved into that in any way? Like, obviously, it's important that her relationship with what's her name?
Selena or
Sophia.
Sophia? Sophia.
Yeah, so obviously her relationship with Sophia is becoming important because they wouldn't have mentioned it for no reason. And Sophia's still angry. And I feel like Selena Kyle might have reached out because she knows Sophia didn't do the thing that she's being accused of. Maybe she knows a little bit about her background. Maybe she knows Sophia's not, this kind of person who killed these women in the past. Maybe she's like, reaching out because she knows what the Penguin is. I don't know.
This like Matt Reeves Batman universe, like I kind of thought it would just kind of like maybe do one or
Yeah.
two more movies and then go by the wayside. But now that this is so popular, now I'm like, how long is this universe gonna like last?
This seems like the far more interesting universe to me, actually. Like ground level, just like realistic, mostly, like the whole Superman thing, the shtick gets kind of old, but this is always going on. Like this is something that you don't get tired of. This is life. There's always something coming up. Yeah, Superman fights like aliens and this and that. Like I like this.
Yeah, some people actually want like James Gunn just to like incorporate Robert Pattinson's Batman like into his universe, and
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I would rather have our cake and eat it too, where we can have this very grounded Batman universe where there is
Hmm.
not people with superpowers, and then we can have a different Batman that can have
Yeah.
adventures with Superman and have like
I like that.
supernatural villains. Yeah.
Because truth be told, look, I get it. Batman, the Justice League, he's really smart, prep times and that. But like, this is a young Batman who's still finding his way. This is not that kind of situation where Batman would work with Superman, I imagine. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So I hope to keep them separate myself. Um, so Oswald gets a brand new fancy plum colored car, replaces his old one. He dresses fancy, more like the traditional penguin that we've seen before. I didn't see if he actually had like the tuxedo with tails or not. Did he? He might have.
I don't remember that. Probably.
Um, he moves his mother into a penthouse. Do you know is this penthouse, is this the club that Falcone used to own?
Oh, okay, that makes sense. He had a penthouse like at the top of the club. I think that's a
It,
thing, right?
it just visually looked like that place, so I think maybe like yeah, like he took that place over.
Yeah.
And that would make
Sounds
sense because he used to operate that Iceberg Lounge that was like down below
right.
in the same building. So I think
Yeah.
that would make sense. But yeah, he moves his mother into that penthouse. And I thought this was like messed up too. So she's a vegetable and he's talking to her like, we got I did it, Ma, and all this. And we see like a single tear like roll down her cheek. And he interprets that as like uh tears of joy, like, yeah, like we did it, Ma, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And really she's just like, in hell basically.
Yeah.
So
I mean, she made her bed. She has to sleep in it. That's her
yeah.
fault. She knew.
I just thought it was a good
It was a good
touch.
scene.
Yeah.
I was happy with that. I liked it.
Yeah.
She got
And
what she
so
deserved. Yeah.
so Oswald goes downstairs and he dances with, this is also kind of messed up. He dances with Eve, who is dressed up like his mother, and he
Mm.
makes her tell him that she loves him and that she's proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is another thing where, like, in this scene, Eve, like, seems happy, but she's also got to be scared and miserable. Like, she's doing this out of terror that he's going to kill
Mm-hmm.
her.
Yeah.
So that's also, like, really messed up. And so as they dance, the camera moves out of the building, and in the background, we see the bat signal light up. I love that ending.
Yeah, it was
I
great. I loved
I
it too. I
I
just
love.
I just don't like being teased. That's all. I just don't like being teased.
Well, here's what puzzles me is, are we actually? Because I don't think the
I don't think
Batman
he's coming.
movie.
I don't think he's coming.
Well, I think it'll show up eventually, but I don't think the main story of that movie, like I think the Penguin will make a cameo in that movie, but I don't think he's going to be the main villain, and I don't think he's going to be the main story.
Yeah,
So
I like this. They almost did like a reverse Thanos situation. Well, like Batman will someday be a part of this. Maybe not yet, but he's out there. So yeah, I liked it.
But this makes me wonder, like, if they do a season 2, like, are they actually going to get Zoe Kravitz, who plays Selena Kyle, and Robert Pattinson
No way.
to actually like do episodes of the Penguin show? And would we want that? Because then it would be more of a traditional superhero show, I feel like, than what we got this season with the Penguin.
I think definitely Zoe Kravitz is a possibility. I imagine she's like more affordable to have on set than Robert Pattinson, just as Pattinson's done a lot more through his career, I think. So yeah, I can imagine her being in it, not him.
But then it's
I mean,
like,
Colin Farrell is in it, but I think he's the big moneymaker in this whole thing. I don't know.
but then at the same time, like you said, they just in a way teased us. Like that bat signal kind of teases a future confrontation
Oh
between
yeah.
Batman and the Penguin.
Mhm.
And so, like, do you think we're going to get that in a movie? Do you think we're going to get that in a show? I don't know. You think
That's gonna be in a
movie?
movie.
Um, Also interesting enough, because this show is so successful, there are now rumors that Warner Brothers is looking into possibly doing a Joker series in this universe. Which I listen.
Has to be done really well. You can't mess with that character up. He's kind of like the what do you call that? Like the center of all of this. Like him and Batman. Well, the Joker. He's like the prime, bad guy. He kind of makes the series. Batman and Joker are in tandem.
It's one of those things where like sure it could be great, but number one, I think the Joker is way overused. Like I don't even want to see him in the the Batman, the next Batman movie. And also, the Joker is one of those characters who's better off with a mysterious origin, not knowing
Yeah,
where he came from.
yeah.
Um, and like we know from the Batman movie that the Joker in this universe is already in Arkham Asylum. I mean, I guess you could bust him out and tell some sort of Joker story, but like I don't know.
I see the Joker as like the Heath Ledger Joker. He's gonna come out of nowhere, but he's gonna consolidate power quickly, and people are gonna be very surprised by his methods. And I think, yeah, he's gonna be like I do want to see him established to some extent at some point for sure. Oh, at some point, everybody wants to see, but I want to see how all these villains live in the same city. I want to see like, yeah, what are they doing at the same time? What's
but
happening?
at the same time, if they do a Joker series, it's most likely once again probably going to be a series where it's the Joker and no Batman, which is
Yeah.
fine. But then it's like I don't know. And then like, are you eventually going to set it up to where the Joker has a confrontation with the Penguin because they're both trying to get accumulate power? I don't know.
I don't think you can have a Joker movie without Batman or series because like the Joker's whole thing is yeah he goes crazy for sure, but after that all he sees is Batman as his motivation for doing what he does. He's the opposite of Batman. When Batman does something good, Joker's like no, I'm gonna do something bad. Like I don't know. His whole motivation is to be like the counter to Batman. Like I don't know.
I don't. If they did a Joker series in this universe, like, would they tell the story of like how he showed up and Batman put him in Arkham, or would they pick up in present day? He's in Arkham, and like maybe it shows like he gets out somehow and gets up
Oh,
to the
because of
joke.
the Robert Pattinson movie, he is in Arkham at the time.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't like that. I did not like that. The way he was shoehorned into that one.
Yeah, it was totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
I don't know why
It
they
was a
did that.
weird introduction of that character.
For
It was
sure.
not
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't know why they did it. It was wholly unnecessary.
I think at that point they were just like, we need this movie to be a hit so we can get this off the ground, Like we need to kind of shove stuff in here, let people know it's his future. Yeah,
I
I
kind
think
of
DC
yeah,
was
that does reek of like studio notes. Like you can't have Batman without the Joker. You got to have him
yeah,
in there at least a little bit, that
yeah.
sort of thing.
But in that situation, like I said, yeah, it makes sense. Batman and Joker are two sides of a coin, but that was not the right way to do it.
Right. But yeah, as far as this Penguin series, man, I was very happy. I
Yeah,
thought it
for
turned out.
sure. I just
I,
hope they keep up the great work. This guy apparently, you said he's this one guy is like in charge of this whole part of the DC universe. It seems.
well, Matt Reeves is the guy that directed the Batman movie. I think he is like an executive producer of the Penguin show, but actually the showrunner of Penguin, I I saw her name, but I forgot it. But it's a woman who was
Mhm.
the showrunner, so she did a
Okay,
very good job. Yeah,
great
I'm
job.
I,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what her other credits are, but yeah, I thought she did a fantastic
And
job.
before we go, I gotta say, like that kid who played the Penguin, I was very impressed with his acting as well. Kids don't act like that mostly, so he did a good job.
Oh, the child version of the Penguin. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he did a very good job. Yeah.
Mm.
Um. So yeah, I think my final score is an 8.5 out of 10. Your final score 9 out of 10.
9. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's just it is good between Agatha and this show just to have good super like comic book television
Yeah.
again. Because for a while there, it was dire straits, and
I mean, that's how it is. Like people thought there was comic fatigue, and I'm sure to some extent there might be, but I think that fatigue was exaggerated by bad movies. You know, they'll do that to anybody. You watch enough
yeah,
bad movies, you'll be like, I'm not watching this anymore.
yeah,
But now I am excited. Like I feel like I want to watch more of this stuff. I'm looking forward to when they come out with more stuff. So yeah.
yeah. The only bummer is like I think it's still good. It's going to be probably probably at least a couple years before we even get another the Batman movie, and then even longer if they do Penguin season 2. Like it's probably going to be at least 3 or 4 years. You know,
It'll be a while. Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a while. Um, but it'll give us something to look forward to if they announce it. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Mm.
Okay, AJ, any final thoughts before we wrap up the show?
Keep up the good work, DC. I'm liking it.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, guys. Well, thanks for following along. If you will, please follow us both on YouTube, and you can also get us in audio form on your podcast catcher of choice. Leave us thumbs up, positive reviews, all that good stuff. If you like, you can follow me over on Twitter/X at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. But until next time, we hope you're enjoying the review. Bye, guys.
Take care.